Thank you for joining us for today's webinar, MAPEI's Ultratop Loft Cementitious Micro-Topping Systems. We have some brief housekeeping before we start. Your phones are muted. If you have any questions, please type them into the Q&A box in the corner of your screen, and we'll answer them at the end of today's session, time permitting. We also invite you to visit the Cementitious Flooring Systems page on our website, www.mapei.us, where we have real-life case studies, technical data sheets, CADs and specs, and more. And now, without further delay, I'd like to introduce today's speaker, Maurizio Lucarelli. A native of Italy, Maurizio has more than 20 years worth of experience in the construction industry. But really, it's fair to say he has a lifetime of experience because since 1934, the Lucarelli family has built almost 1.2 million square feet of real estate throughout Italy. And Maurizio grew up managing residential development and learning about the renovation of historic buildings through actual hands-on experience. In 2010, he began working with MAPEI Spa in Milan, specializing in resin flooring. In 2014, he moved to the US and founded a technical consulting firm. He joined MAPEI Corporation in 2020 as the business development leader for cementitious and resin flooring systems, bringing his specialized knowledge here to the US market. And he's going to share some of that knowledge with us today. So with that, I welcome him back to the microphone. Maurizio, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jennifer. And hello to everybody. Thank you for joining us today talking to the Ultratop Loft. That is the name of the product that we need to do this kind of surfaces. So Ultratop Loft is a Trowel-applied cementitious micro-topping. So we are offering the Ultratop Loft F and Ultratop Loft W. Two different formulas. We will see the difference between the formulas in a few minutes, but we are also offering the same products, the Ultratop Loft F, in two base colors, the white and the natural. Natural means light gray. That is the color of the base, the cementitious product. Also, the Ultratop Loft W is a white and natural. So basically, we have four products that we can use in our Ultratop Loft systems. So here we have the difference between the formulas. Ultratop Loft F means fine sand into the formula. So we always recommend this kind of product, the Ultratop Loft F, for the first layer of the system. We will explain you the system in a few slides today, but this is the difference. So Ultratop Loft as a first layer because we have a sand inside, and with that product we have the ability to make the surface smooth as soon as we finish the primer. And the Ultratop Loft W means water, no sand inside, cream. That is the texture of the material. We can do the final finish of the floor of the system with the really smooth surface. But let's see what we can do with the Ultratop Loft F. So as I already said, so we have the white, the natural, can be colored and can be mixed with clear water. Okay. Same for the Ultratop Loft W. So we have 55 available liquid colors. It's the liquid that we can use to mix the cementitious product. The name is Ultratop Easycolor, liquid color. We can also mix the Ultratop Loft W and the F with the clear water. So if we mix the white with clear water, we will have the natural white that we have into the formula. If we mix the Ultratop Loft natural with the clear water, we will have that light gray, the real color of the formula. So basically we have four products here, and if we mix this color, for example, here we have Sahara orange, okay, that is the ID of the color. If we mix the Sahara color as an Easycolor with the Ultratop Loft F white, we will have this kind of color. So it's difficult to find and touch the difference between the color here on the screen, but we have a beautiful brochure that we can send to you, and you can download from the website. But let's see the difference here. You can notice the difference. So Ultratop Loft F white with that kind of color, the orange Sahara. So that is the texture, because the F is with a fine sand inside. The W, okay, also white, is without any sand. The surface is, if you touch that color chart, you will notice that the surface is really smooth. Okay, now mixing the same color, the Sahara, with the Ultratop Loft F natural, we know that natural is light green, so light gray, sorry. So, and if we mix the same color with the W natural, we will have a different things. So basically, we have a 55 Ultratop Easycolor, 55 color. If we mix 55 colors with all the 4 formulas of Ultratop Loft, we will have 220 options. That is the beautiful and huge color chart that we have for our customer, interior designers, architects. They can really custom the surfaces, the projects for all of the color, for all of the needs. The most important key of the system, of the Ultratop Loft system, is that we can apply this system, this micro-topping, on the floor, on the wall, and on the ceiling. For example, here, these beautiful projects, we did the floor, we did the stairs, we did the kitchen. So we have the thickness, the total thickness of the system is 1/8. And now we will see how we can do this system. We have a primers in order to have the system on top of all of the surfaces, of all of the subfloors. For example, primary sand and primary sand fast, that is epoxy primer, okay? Every time we need to apply this system, the Ultratop Loft system on the floors, we always recommend, and we only recommend the primary sand, the epoxy primer, okay? And sand broadcast. We will see the section of the system soon, but now we are talking about products that can make the system. Primer LT or primer grip white. We have these 2 primers for vertical, for the wall, or for the sealers. So the LT is for absorbent substrates, and the primer grip white is for not absorbent surfaces. So we can apply, for example, the Ultratop Loft system on the wall if we have a tiles. Okay, the primer grip white is a special primer with micro sand inside in order to make a grip for the micro topping for the cementitious product. Here, the Ultratop Loft and the Ultratop Loft W that we already know, and the Easycolor. Base coat and sealers, we can offer different finishes. So basically we have a base coat that is Ultratop base coat, is our primer for all of the surfaces that we need to seal. And MAPEI Floor Finish 630, that is acrylic sealer, 2 component that makes the surface like a wet texture. MAPEI Floor Finish 58W, that is polyurethane sealer, and 2 components also that make the surface more matte. You know, the surface will be matte. That is the most popular. Here is our 3D section. We always recommend CSP number 3 as a surface preparation. Okay, if we have a concrete slab and we want to apply the system, the microtopping system, the Ultratop Loft system, we always recommend CSP number 3 as a profile for the surface. And then we can start installing the primer. In this case, epoxy primer, we have primer sand or primer sand fast and sand broadcast. That is important. I have pictures after this section, so we will walk through there. I wanna explain. I wanna show you all of the steps to make the system in order to open the imagination and say what we can do. So this is a system that everybody can use in order to custom the projects. They can change the texture of the floor, they can change the color, we can change the system together, and that is the reason that we are here as a MAPEI. We offer technical recommendations and technical assistance, so we can build a custom system, custom specs based on the projects, based on the needs of the architect. So again, CSP number 3, epoxy primer, and then the first coat of microtopping. We always recommend, especially for the floors, 2 coats of cementitious microtopping. In this case, we have the Ultratop Loft F as a first coat, and then the second one, the Ultratop Loft W. We can change color. By the way, we can do 2 layers with a different color, and we can have that kind of 3D texture when we finish, or we can use the same and then we will have the kind of texture that I show you. So basically with this system we'll have no consistency in color, but really beautiful shades. And then again we can apply the base coat, Ultratop base coat, in order to finish with sealers. In this case the Finish 50FW, that is the polyurethane sealer, in order to make the surface smooth. CSP number 3. So let's explain a little bit why we recommend the epoxy primer, because that is important for us, and that CSP, the surface profile, is really important. So quickly, the epoxy primer is a formula of epoxy resins made in order to go through the concrete. So that is the scope, the penetration. Somebody can say, okay, Maurizio, I want to use CSP number 6, is more open, you know, the surface is open, the epoxy primer can be inside, so that is beautiful for the grip, in order to have a more grip. And say, no, that is completely wrong, because if you have CSP number 6 and you apply our epoxy primer, that the scope is to make the penetration into the concrete, we will lose the epoxy primer into the slab. So CSP number 3 is the right porosity of the floor that we need, of the surface. Okay, so with that kind of texture, with that kind of porosity, we can have the primer as sand comes through the slab, but having also a little bit of thickness there with epoxy primer to engage the sand broadcast. I will show you the sand broadcast soon. So basically the anchor, the bonding agent there is the epoxy for the sand, and then we will apply the microtopping. But this is the machine that we recommend in order to have the CSP number 3. Quickly, this is an example of the shot blaster work. So we are cleaning the surface with this kind of action. Microsphere are there on the floor. They are, you know, they are removing all of the dust and all of the agents that can make the system wrong. So we need to clean and do the application of the epoxy primer. That is the reason. So with the kind of porosity, we will have the epoxy primer on slab with the right portion comes through the concrete and the right portion ready for the sand broadcast. So that is the reason that we always will recommend the epoxy primer for the floors. After that, we have the right surface start for starting the microtopping system. So we will use a sander machine in order to remove all of the sands all of the grain of the sand that are not into the epoxy primer. We will use a vacuum. We will clean really good the surface, and now we can start with the Ultratop Loft, with the cementitious product. As you can see in this picture, it's creamy. So this is the F. We have a little bit of sand there. It's not bigger, but it's fine sand that will help us to make the surface smooth. So as you can imagine here, especially in this picture and in the following picture, we are installing the Ultratop Loft, the micro-topping cementitious product with the metal trowel. So we are customizing the surface every time we move that tool. Okay, if we do large movement or if we do straight movement, the surface of the floor will change every time, and that is the beautiful thing of the system. We can ask to the customers, the architects, they can ask to our preferred contractors to do different things. Straight marks, cloud texture, different color between the two layers. So that is also the reason that we are sharing and we are into the program for preferred contractor, MAPEI preferred contractor. We know what we can do. We will recommend all of the contractors across the United States for every project. So the next step is again, the day after, when the first layer is dry, we will do again sander machine with a sandpaper from 100 to 200. We will clean the surface with a vacuum, and then again, primer. This primer is the LT, that is acrylic primer that will be dry in a few seconds, and then we will start again the second layer. So in this case, we can use the Ultratop Loft again, F, or the Ultratop Loft W. That is based on the texture that you want to reach at the end of the floor. But this is the consistency, and that is the thickness. So we have 1/16 of inch for each layer. Total thickness of the system, 1/8 of inch. It's really thin, but durable. Again, the day after, sand, vacuum, and then sealer. In this case, we are using the Ultratop base coat as a primer for the MAPEI Floor Finish 58 that is a polyurethane sealer. That is the texture of the surface. That is a beautiful museum that we did in Milan years ago. And that is the texture. As soon as the MAPEI Floor Finish 58 is dry, the surface will become matte. Or we can apply the MAPEI Floor Finish 630. That is a wet texture because it's acrylic. Okay, that is the difference. We can have different options based on the needs. This is the final picture of the museum with the MAPEI Floor Finish 58 on top. And by the way, based on the color, we can notice more or less movement on the surface, less or more, cloud texture shades on the surface. Here we have some pictures of projects that we did across the world. We also did the vertical, the walls, the ceilings, and this is the system for the wall. We will see that the system is the same, but the only things that will change is the primer. In this case, the epoxy primer is not required. We can use the acrylic one, the LT, primer LT, or we can use the primer grip white. That is based on the subfloor that we have, but the system is the same. We will use Ultratop Loft W or the Ultratop Loft again W. We can change. We can use 2 layers on the wall, on the ceilings. We don't have that kind of. We don't need that kind of the resistance that we need on the floor, so we can also do 1 layer. Okay, so that is based on the mock-up that we have for the project, on the samples, but for sure, in order to seal the surface and make the surface protect from spilling of liquid and other products, we always need the Ultratop base coat as a primer for the finishes, MAPEI Floor Finish 58 or MAPEI Floor Finish 630. Ultratop Loft, we have two beautiful pictures here that will open, I hope, a lot of questions. So I'm trying to finish this presentation quickly in order to have more time for questions and answers that I want to have, because this is the opportunity to talk about these systems, maybe talking about control joints or other needs and other questions that everybody can type here into the system. I want to show here where we can find all of the information, like technical data sheets of the products, of the systems and specs. So this is our main website. We have a product and solution here on the horizontal view. And here we have all of the product lines, okay, here on the left. The cementitious flooring systems are here in the end. You can click there. You will have all of the specs that we already have, the usual specs, not the custom specs. The custom specs can be done working together. And then we have the Ultratop that we have, Ultratop Natural and Ultratop SP for polishing floors and the terrazzo. And then the Ultratop Loft system that we are presenting today with all of the other related products. Here we'll have also the brochure. This is the interior living brochure with the color chart that I show you, but also the other brochure that we have for this kind of range of products. The interior living brochure, you can download him and here and have more other picture of projects that we did across the world with the color chart here in the middle with all of the 220 colors. So other technical documentation, specs, CAD certification, and form for submitting specific questions. So I'm ready to receive questions. I try to finish the presentation as soon as possible, showing what we can do with the Ultratop Loft, with this kind of system that we can use on the floors, on the stairs, on the wall, on the ceiling. So
you did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the questions have come rolling in, so
I imagine.
All right. Oh, here's a good one. On walls, can you easily put in nails for pictures? Will it crack?
Can you repeat the question, Jennifer?
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. So if the system is installed on walls,
yes,
can you put in nails to hang pictures, or will the system crack?
No, you can do that. Yeah, exactly. So we are talking we are talking about products that can be used in commercial, in residential, museums, stadium. So the compressive strength of the system of the products is almost 5,000 psi. So you can put all of you want on the floor, on the wall also, and would be really hard to make a hole there, but you can for sure.
Right. This is in museums, yeah. Isn't it? I mean, it's. So that was a good question. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you for the question.
Exactly. All right, here for floors, is it mandatory for the epoxy primer, or can we use the acrylic primer?
So we, in our system, that is the system that we have since the beginning. So we start this kind of operation with the microtopping in Italy 12 years ago, and then we spread the formula around the world. Now, we want to stay with the rules that we know that will work for sure. So our recommendations are really strict. So we will recommend the epoxy primer for all of the floors, okay? that means that that is our recommendation. And you know, based on the presentation that I did, I also explained the reason why we are recommending the epoxy primer. Yes, the epoxy primer and sand broadcast are part of the system that we recommend for the floor.
Perfect. Okay, can the system go on wood subfloors and on drywall walls?
Okay, drywall walls, yes, for sure. We have the primer. In that case, primer T is the primer that we recommend. If we have tiles on the wall, we can use the primer grip white. For sure, if we have a substrates on the wall, that means a fiberglass mesh. We also have the fiberglass mesh that you can put into the first coat of microtopping, of cementitious microtopping. For the floor, yes, we can. Can you repeat the question for the floor, Jennifer? Sorry.
Yes, sure. Can it go on wood subfloors?
Oh yes, for the wood. If we have a wood, we cannot install the system directly on the wood. We always recommend 1.5 inches or 1 inch of subfloor. We have a lot of products that we can put on floor, on the wood floors, substrates, but we need that kind of subfloor before starting the system. So basically, we cannot install the Ultratop Loft system directly on the wood, especially on the floor.
But if there's wood, all is not lost.
Yes, exactly.
No, because we're MAPEI. There's always something to solve it, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay, well, here we go. How do you treat control joints in floors?
Okay, with all of the Ultratop systems, with the Ultratop Loft system, we always recommend to honor the control joints. But if for some reason we have a design that doesn't allow us to honor the control joint, the expansion joint, we can have a system custom for that project. For example, we always recommend the surface prep and then into the epoxy primer, and that is another reason that we recommend the epoxy primer. Into the epoxy primer, we can install the fiberglass mesh. So with the fiberglass mesh into the epoxy primer, we can go over the control joint and expansion joints.
Perfect. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Yep, thank you. What is the RH moisture tolerance for this system?
Okay, all of the epoxy primers that we have, like Primer Sand or Primer S and Fast, we can stay under 80%. Okay, if we have a moisture more there, that range, we always need the moisture barrier, and we have the moisture barrier. We have a few products that we can recommend, and in that case, we always recommend surface prep, moisture barrier, and then the epoxy primer and sand broadcast. I know that there are competitors, other firms, that they are recommending sand broadcast on top of the moisture barrier, but that for us is completely wrong. We want to make sure that the moisture barrier is a barrier. If you imagine the moisture barrier that 90% of the time is epoxy, and then you broadcast the sand, you are making a breach, you are making a hole in that barrier, you are making a breach between the concrete slab and the system that you are installing on top. So that is completely wrong. That is the reason. Surface prep, moisture barrier. When the moisture barrier is dry, then you can start with the system. So epoxy primer, sand broadcast, and Ultratop Loft system.
Makes good sense. All right, here's a question. What is the maintenance for this system?
Okay, that is a good question that everybody cannot have the right answer. So,
Right, it depends, right?
Yeah, because it's based,
yeah,
it's based on the workability that you have there. So if it's a museum, for example, we have more than 10 years of experience with the Ultratop system and the Ultratop Loft systems. With the Ultratop Loft system, also terrazzo system or microtopping systems, we are recommending the same sealers. And the sealer is the first product that will be attacked from the work, from the forklift, from the all of the actions that can make damage to the surface. So I will recommend for commercial, for example, into the mall, a maintenance of the sealer, because it's the sealer that can change, not the system. So we are talking about cementitious product with 5,000 psi, 6,000 psi. The product will be damaged really after many years. So we never did the maintenance for the cementitious product. The only maintenance that we had is for the sealer. And then you can do the new application of the sealer, the maintenance for the sealer in 2 years. If we have a commercial store in a mall, in the museum, maybe you can have that kind of maintenance one a year. In the stadium also one a year, but this based on the project. We always recommend a maintenance bulletin based on the projects. That is portion of our activities with the architects and designers and customers.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Got to forecast that.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, let me see if I can. So can this be applied directly onto flooring like tiles?
Yes, sure. If we have a tiles on the floor, we can recommend surface prep with a shot plaster. That is the most aggressive and properly surface prep, and then epoxy primer. Based on the tiles, if the tiles are in good standing there, if the sun's good. So if they are bonding on the slab, we can recommend again surface prep, epoxy primer, but in this case, in order to make the surface reinforced, we always recommend the fiberglass mesh that we have into the epoxy primer, and then we can start the system. And based on the thickness of the Ultratop system, the Ultratop Loft system, we can do all of that restoration. We can do a remodel projects with no transition. So it's really 1/8 maximum, 1/8 of inch maximum. So that is the reason maybe that the question comes from.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, let's see here. Okay. Okay, so in the case of an installation in tile,
yep.
They're asking, would you use an acrylic primer or something along the lines of Eco Prem Grip Plus?
Okay, if we have a floor, on the floor for tiles, concrete, all of the substrate, we always recommend the epoxy primer with fiberglass mesh if we need, or without. Okay, yeah. But on the wall, yes, on the wall we can switch. We can use the primer grip white that is for the tiles. Yes, for not absorbent surfaces.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, here's a question about sanding the floors.
Yeah.
They're asking, how do you sand the floors, and what's the cure time before you sand?
Yeah, beautiful. So usually we recommend the day before, so something between 18 to 24 hours. The reason is because if you apply the first coat of Ultratop Loft, the microtopping, in order to react with the sander machine, in order to receive that kind of action with the sander machine, we need the material really dry. So the dry time is between 11, 18 hours. So basically, if we do the application of the first coat, we have to come back that time after, maybe the day after. When we start with the center of the first coat, we always recommend something between 100 to 200, okay, in order to have that kind of porosity, in order to encourage the second layer be on the on top of the first layer properly. Okay, we always recommend a primer, acrylic primer between the two layers, but we can use the 200, 100 sandpaper for the first coat. So the day after, when the second coat of Ultratop Loft is dry, we can use less aggressive sandpaper. For example, if we want to have a really smooth surface, we can start from 200, and then we can do 400, 800, 120, 150. That is based on the texture that you want to reach. And more you sand, and less you will see the difference between the travel mark. So as I recommend, so I always recommend to have samples that we cannot do, because everybody will do different samples. If I mix the same products and I do the same system that Jennifer can do, if we are on the same spot, on the same table, doing two different samples, the samples at the end are different. Okay, so that is the reason that we have our preferred contractor, but between the contractors, everybody will do a different texture, a different shades, a different final floor. So that is the recommendation. Samples for submitting to the architects, and then the mock-up with the same contractor. Yeah.
It makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Let's see. Oh, here. Can you apply this system over radiant floor heating like MAPEI Heat?
Yes, we can do that. We have the systems for heating. We have these self levels, underlayment, and then we recommend again epoxy primer with fiberglass mesh. So Perfect. In this case, the epoxy primer becomes the leader of the system every time.
Nice, very good. Okay. That was a popular answer.
Okay.
Okay, let's see here. What recommendations would you give if a project was located near the sea?
Okay. Oh, this is a good question, and sorry, because this is system for interior only. So we cannot apply the system outside of the house, stores, commercial mall. So every time we have enclosure projects, you know, we know that there is a IC there. The job site also is controlled, so we don't have any problem if we are near to the sea or in a big metropolitan area. So we are inside. The Ultratop Loft system are for interior only use.
Right. So the recommendation would be do the job and then step outside and enjoy the view.
Yes, exactly. Beautiful. Thank you, Jennifer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Not affected by the humidity in the interior while you're installing?
No. So we recommend, you know, the range there is 50 to 90. That is the temperature we recommend for all of our products. But after that, yeah, no other problems.
Yeah. Okay. And any other specific questions like that could definitely be addressed on the technical data sheet as well. Or
Sure.
if you got really specific, that could be dialed in for the specific project, right?
Yeah, we have a form there on the web page. Everybody can type something, and we will receive the request. Yeah,
exactly. Or reach out to you.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Now, forgive me if you've already addressed this, but here's another question.
Yeah.
Can we use the Loft liquid colors for Ultratop SP?
Oh, wow, this is beautiful. Okay, so for everybody, this is on expert customer, I think. So we have Ultratop Loft but we also have the Ultratop, the self-level products. One of the Ultratop for terrazzo or for polishing toppings is the Ultratop SP. SP means salt and pepper. But so that is a system, is a product that you can pour and polish. So the Ultratop Easycolor, the liquid colors that we have for the Ultratop Loft cannot be used for the other Ultratop that we have. In order to color the other Ultratop products we have, we always recommend the liquid color, but a different formula. Okay, so the Ultratop Easycolor are the liquid colors for the Ultratop Loft system only.
Okay. Oh, another question about sand. Is the sand broadcast required if the mesh is being used with primer SN?
Yes, the sand is the fine sand. We have a MAPEI sand fine. We always recommend the sand also because the sand will make the anchor for our microtopping, cementitious microtopping. If you imagine the system, you will have this kind of epoxy products come into the concrete, making sure that the sand is encased into the epoxy, and when the epoxy is dry, you will have the kind of really raw and really aggressive texture. That is the sand. So if we don't have the sand there, the cementitious product will be loose on the floor. So our anchor are the grain of the sand. So that is really important. Sometimes when we have a problem on these floors, it's just because somebody do a wrong sand broadcast. So the sand broadcast will be really a full sand broadcast, and that works.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, okay, somebody's getting very technical here. They want to have you please repeat system thicknesses.
Yes, the thickness of the system, starting from the epoxy primer, same broadcast, first coat of Ultratop Loft, second coat of Ultratop Loft, and also sealers, total thickness 1/8 of inch. 1/8 of inch is really 3 millimeters maximum.
Yeah, that's very thin.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's almost 3-4 credit cards, one to the other. That is the thickness.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Okay, let's see. Give everybody a little bit more time here to collect their thoughts.
That is the reason that I did the presentation really quick, and then I love to have questions and answers.
And you're good at it too. They're all coming in. You never know what you're going to get, and you're quick on your feet, which is awesome. It's like Jeopardy over here. Yeah, no, it's great.
We always want to have open table with everybody, so it's a good option.
Yeah, well, it just shows that you know what you're talking about, and that's awesome. So I know as soon as I always end these, I think of 3 more things. But what about that? Oh shoot. Yeah. So, but okay, wait, here's another one. Let's see. Oh, this is a good question. Okay, so in your experience, what would you say are the best practices for using this system?
So, based on my experience, I will recommend to. So the trick of this system, as we are not, it's not common. It's not usual to say that our system, this system, is with no consistency on the color, no consistency on the surface as a texture. It's something that you never know when you finish what you will have. So if when I start the presentation like this, all of the architects say, okay, Maurizio, stop, please. We don't need this kind of crazy things. But, but that is the beautiful part of the system. I want to recommend everybody to encourage the architects, the interior designers, the customers to use this system as a custom product, custom system, to do a custom project. So all of the projects are similar, but not the same. If we have a different needs, we can do that based on the project. We can custom the color, we can custom the thickness of the floor, of the wall. So that is something that is unique. And that is the reason that we have this kind of system. So my recommendation is to explain to everybody into the industry that we have to work in different modes. So it's not a tile, it's not a piece of wood, it's a system that can be managed by preferred contractor only, okay, in order to do something beautiful, something custom, something unique. So my recommendation is to explain everything, all things, all of the aspect of the system to customer, and then recommend this kind of system in beautiful houses or stores. I love to see a huge and large space with the Ultratop Loft. For example, the first one 11 years ago was the Ferrari, the Ferrari museum in Maranello in Italy. We did all of the museum with the white one, white with the texture that you can touch and see if you are walking on. If you see a picture on the website, you would see a white floor, but if you walk on top, you will have a beautiful system, beautiful feeling. So that is the unique of this system. You will feel the difference when you walk on top.
It really is an art form, right? I mean, it's almost like the Renaissance technique. It's to watch it, and if you can spread mortar, you can. I mean, it's the same kind of trowel work, but to watch. To watch the colors develop, it's amazing. It reminds me of a Giotto fresco, really,
Yes,
honestly, to see it.
exactly.
It
You're
really,
right.
that's my first thought. And
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah, also, if you do the sander technique with the sander machine, and you do that 2-3 times more of the usual, you will also change the shades of the last coat of Ultratop Loft. So it's beautiful. I love this product, of course, but I want to have everybody walking on top and feeling the difference.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I mean. You would never dream to walk on top of
Yeah.
a Renaissance fresco, but these you can. That's
Yeah.
what's so cool about it. Yeah, yeah. So, so yeah. In fact, I have a wall I want to speak to you about offline.
Yeah. 100%.
I, but okay, here's another question. So,
Yeah.
how would you address an existing concrete floor with a high CSP, such as a 6 or a 7?
Oh, beautiful. So if we have that
Mm.
kind of texture, or we have a scarifying machine that is already there because they are doing something for industrial, for example, or we have that kind of porosity, CSP 8, 9, or 6, we need, again, the Ultratop, the epoxy primer. We can use the epoxy primer, but in this case, with the sand into the epoxy primer. So we will recommend a beautiful epoxy mortar that you can apply with a notch squeegee on the floor. You will do the surface that you need as a CSP number 3, and then you can apply the system, the Ultratop system. So basically, the Ultratop Loft system. Basically, we will address that kind of surface, the kind of CSP number 6 with epoxy mortar, with the epoxy primer that we have, primer sand and sand inside. Sometimes we do 1-to-1 or more, 1-to-8, one portion of epoxy resin and one portion of fine, really fine sand, and then you can apply that on the floor, making the surface smooth.
Fantastic. All right, let's see. Well, okay. Give just a few more seconds to see.
Yep.
Oh, let's see here. Okay, so they're asking, would that approach require a thicker layer? So I'm assuming the CSP 6 or 7 and the approach that you just described, would that require a thicker layer of resin? Oh, I'm not sure what
Yes,
that is.
for sure. Yeah,
Yes,
we will
yes.
use more resin.
Yep.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
2-3 times maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, exactly. She didn't clarify. That's exactly it. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for thank you for clarifying. Okay. Right. Is there a timeline for installations?
I will say that during the process, the only timeline that we have to make sure we are on top is between the first and the second layer of microtopping. Because when we apply the epoxy resin with the sand broadcast, the primer sand with sand broadcast, we have to wait 6-8 hours. So if the epoxy resin is not dry, you cannot start the other operation. The same is for the microtopping. If we do the first coat of microtopping, we have to wait. Yeah, I always recommend the day after. So if we apply the first coat, the day after we can sand and then apply the second coat. So basically, for the full system, we will have the first day, if we are talking about a store or high-end residential floor, we always recommend to have the first day with the surface prep and the epoxy primer sand broadcast. Okay. Second day, first coat of microtopping. Third day, second coat of microtopping. The last day, the day number 5, we will sand again, clean everything, and install the sealer.
Perfect. Okay. So there is the timeline.
Yep, 5 days
Yep.
is the number.
Okay. All right. Well, like I said, on that web page that you showed us,
Yes.
there are case studies, and we're going to be adding some more as they pop up. I know we'll be adding Bolay to that.
Yep.
That'll be coming up. And all of the standard CADs and specs, but as you mentioned, any customized, that's always available too. And this is interior floors, walls, and ceilings. So that's very cool. It'd be like again, like Giotto or Michelangelo up there on your back doing the ceiling, which is so cool. Very cool. But all right, we're going to approaching the top of the hour. So I will thank you for a fantastic webinar, and I'm going to thank everybody for joining us. I know that days just get so full so fast, and we really appreciate everybody for spending time with us and for your interest in our products. And if you have any more questions after we say goodbye, again, you can always reach out to MAPEI Digital at mapei.com, or you can reach out to Maurizio via the webpage that he showed, or to Maurizio directly, and we'll get those answers to you ASAP. And so with that, thank you, Maurizio, and thank you everybody for joining us. And
thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, everybody.
Have a great rest of your day.
Bye, bye, bye.
Bye-bye.